This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting, brought to you by BoohooMan. I'm joined by Alexis Demetrius today down at London Shoot Fighters. Alexis, thank you very much for your time today. How's life with you? How is everything?
Normal, very, very busy. Pleasure to be here, but just loads and loads of fights. So
We'll just go straight into it today. Your sort of mortal enemy, Jake Paul, obviously your team KSI, so the enemy at the end of the day is always Jake Paul, is fighting Anthony Joshua. Your reaction on this?
I think a very, very good business strategy from the guys, from Jake. You know, finally getting hold of the biggest fight he can, bar KSI, to have a fight and to earn the most amount of money. What do I think about the fight? I think in pretty much nearly every world possible, AJ obliterates him. I think if you can't handle Tommy Fury and you can't put a dent in him and you lose a fight to him, and this guy is bordering on a light heavyweight at best, a 185 fighter. You're just not going to put a dent in someone like AJ. You've got to remember, AJ, a lot of people say certain things about AJ. Oh, he's past it, he's this, he's that. He's a two-time heavyweight champion of the world. He's an Olympic gold medalist. Yeah, he is a fantastic boxer. He's a massively athletic guy. Obviously, if you want to split the coin, he's not in shape at the moment. He's maybe getting rid of some injuries. He's not been in a training camp. He's not got a coaching team at the moment, right? So those are the positives potentially of why Jake might want to take the fight. But realistically speaking, his team saying that he's got a chance in knocking him out. If they're doing that, I think that's kind of a bit delusional. Maybe a good win might be him going the distance with him, which would be outrageous. I couldn't believe he would do that. If that happens, that'd be amazing for him.
What advantages does Jake Paul have over Anthony Joshua?
Absolutely nothing. There'll be no advantage. I mean, he's not done anything in boxing to have one advantage over him. There's not one physical advantage. There's not one. I mean, you say that though. Obviously, he has self-belief. Any man who's got self-belief and will put themselves in harm's way to prove their point is a dangerous man. Don't get me wrong. No matter what happens, it's a fight, and there are two people in that ring. But at the same time, one's trained at such a high level, and punch power, punch resistance, the amount of sparring rounds. I mean, this should really take effect. I mean, this shouldn't be. It should be a three-round affair. I mean, a lot of people are like, first punch like Ngannou, and that's very hard to do. It's what's good is to have someone who knows how to fight, and you can get timing off of them and catch them. Sometimes with someone like Jake, I mean, we've studied a lot of Jake. He's very herky-jerky, holds a double guard, throws the same kind of punches at right body and that right uppercut. Those shots aren't. He's slow. They're just not good enough for someone like AJ, And it's interesting because you reverse it around now and you say to yourself, okay, he's happy to take AJ at 245 pounds for the same money as he was going to fight KSI, but he wouldn't give up 2 pounds in weight at 190 to come down to fight JJ. And you say to yourself, it's because of the risk factor. With AJ, it's a win-win. He gets knocked out. It's like I got knocked out by AJ. I lost to AJ. I think that's just, Whereas with KSI, he can't go anywhere. He gets knocked out by KSI, his boxing career is over. He loses to AJ, he gets to go back to Tommy Fury. He gets to go, he gets to win again and then try and go to JJ. He can build his rep up again. So I think realistically speaking, there's less of a risk with AJ. I know that sounds kind of weird. Sorry, with AJ, there's less of a risk with him than there is with someone like Tommy Fury or with someone like KSI. Because if you lose those kind of fights, there's no recovering. So I think you have to look at it strategically a little bit.
So that's the reason that Jake Paul was fighting Anthony Joshua instead of KSI. To explain it to like a casual, this person in the street, it sounds very weird that Jake Paul will fight Anthony Joshua but not fight KSI,
Yeah, it's nuts. It's got nothing to do with the danger factor. I don't think Jake thinks KSI is as dangerous as AJ. I think he just thinks, well, I'm getting a whole lot of money and there's a no risk factor because everyone expects me to lose. So it's that factor. It's got nothing to do with the fact that that one's more dangerous than the other. I mean, it's obvious AJ is more dangerous, and got more accolades. But with all those accolades and with all that danger, the pressure's off of you, because all you got to do is be like, I should do the best I can because I'm not expected to do any better.
What's KSI said to you guys behind the scenes when it was announced? I take it you've probably spoken to him about the fight.
Yeah, of course. Look, we all think the same thing. Like, it's a great fight for Jake to take. Like, don't get me wrong. It's like, hats off to him. Like, he's got the biggest money fight you can get, from a boxing realm. And there's a lot of danger, in fact, in it. Don't get me wrong. I've always respected Jake. There's not one part of any of us that don't respect Jake for doing the things that he's doing. Same as KSI. The things they're doing is insane. from fighting furies and putting their asses on the line, being wealthy and being in places with huge businesses and doing all of that stuff for to show that it can be done. It always deserves massive amounts of respect. So I'm absolutely not questioning any of that. I'm just saying that it's a silly fight. That's what I'm saying. But I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You watch it, which is the main thing. What do you make of them doing it at the same time that the Tate fight is happening on Misfits?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of skullduggery there. I mean, it's unfortunate they're doing it the day before, but realistically speaking, Tate's got his own demographic, and Jake's online presence is nothing compared to Andrew's, So I think that there's a crossover of boxing, but realistically speaking, they're both going to be, one's free on Netflix, and the other's well priced for something that you want to see with loads of other fights on a card that and Andrew Tate fighting is it's the biggest influencer crossover fighter of the year by far, but the Jake Paul fight, there's definitely going to be some intrigue involved in it, So I think it's definitely worth a weekend of pay-per-views.
Are you coming to Dubai?
Yeah, we should turn up there, definitely, and we'll have a look at things. I think there's obviously, you've got to keep your eye on potential opponents and see how things work out.
So KSI's training team is going, but KSI is not attending himself?
Yeah, I mean, there's issues going on at the moment, so,
Okay. What issues? What's happening?
Well, there's the issue with Misfits and with KSI. I think realistically for us, we are Team KSI. That's what we are. So we're going to go do what we do.
As in issues, you mean by the CEO title being taken away from him and Tate coming in?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ultimately, you've got potential opponents there, and you've got things in business that are going on at the moment. For us, we take ourselves out of the business point of view, and we just go do our job and look at these fights, get a good look close up to what people are like. I think watching things on TV and being up close it's very different from a fight point of view. You get to see someone's timing, someone's fight IQ, also the conditioning that they're in, their team as well. It's important to see what's around them, what they do, how they conduct themselves. It's just important to go to it. And again, there are a lot of other fun fights on the card.
Why has KSI been so hesitant to get his hand surgery done?
Yeah, like I said, you've got to look at the guy's calendar. I mean, he's in Budapest right now filming. He's barely touching ground in London. You can't, when you have these surgeries, you can't fly. You're not allowed to fly. The pressure build up, the swelling and inflammation. You've got to be on certain tablets. There's an antibiotic course potentially, if depending on the surgery that you're having. And on top of it, you've got to be straight into rehab stuff. So it just takes you out of everything that you're doing in your life. So if the injury's really, really bad for punching, which it is, but not so bad in general life, I understand the point of having general life, like doing that and then finding a sport where you can clear it and get it done.
Okay, all right. Just going back to Chase Demoor versus Andrew Tate fight, what did you give it? Did you give it a 50-50? Did you give it 60-40 towards Tate? Where would you rank it in terms of percentages?
Yeah, I definitely think it's, I mean, Tate's got to be the favourite because he's had the experience, The issue you have is he hasn't fought in a very, very long time. Chase is a live opponent, so he's a big, strong, young, live opponent. Hasn't shown much skill, with all due respect, from the pro ranks of boxing. Don't get me wrong, he's a tough guy, but he hasn't shown that skill level. But you don't need skill sometimes. You need to be rough and tough and young and game and hungry. And I think that's going to be a fun fight. I don't think it could be as easy as we all think it's going to be, but then there is an element that it might not be, and that's why people are going to tune into it. I think Tate. Stylistically, he suits certain people really well, so it should be interesting.
Is there a chance that Tate's got a little bit too old for his liking and slowed down a little bit too much, just enough that Chase can get that win there?
Yeah, I think definitely a bit about, I don't think it's about the age, and I don't think necessarily it's about being slowed down. I think it's whether or not he's sparred 250-pound guys that are trying to take his head off and that have hit him. Obviously, you don't put the sparring up you have online all the time. So, and I know some of the guys he's sparring. So it's whether or not he's really doing that dirty work. Because if that kid hits you at 245 pounds and he's a strong kid, it's how's your punch resistance. It's okay getting a little black eye here and there. We all wear them, but it's in 10-ounce gloves. It's very different to 16-ounce gloves. It's very different to someone with an intent to kill you as well.
Why do you think that he's sparring all these people who are so much smaller than him and less skilled than him that we're seeing online, which are being posted?
Yeah, a lot of the time with sparring partners, you will spar smaller guys. You'll get your timing on them. You'll get your rhythm. You'll get your pullbacks. You'll get your draws. You'll try things out and get your timing on them with less risk. If you tried that on a big heavyweight and got it wrong, that would be the fight camp over. That would be your fight over. You know, you'd end up with stitches and not be able to fight. So there's a time and a place for the hard spars, which I hope that they're doing. You know, the really rough hard spars behind closed doors that don't go so well sometimes. Those are the ones that they want to be doing. The feel-good spars and the timing spars, you can only do so much of those. Like I said, I've had enough boxing world champions to understand the way the form works. I've been in enough Olympic and world-class camps to understand that there's a good blend of both. But at the same time, you shouldn't focus just on one. You know, there's got to be a sense of reality in that. Like a lot of people will body spar and they won't spar the rough fights and they'll feel good going into camp. But they won't have the timing. And they won't have that punch resistance that they need, you know, of like shit's gone wrong. It's round 7. What am I doing? How's my body feeling? They haven't been there before in camp, and that's what you need to get out in camp.
KSI has hinted. Oh, sorry, back to JJ. I just remembered one thing actually before we wrap this up. When he does like the podcast with the Sidemen, he seems to hint quite a lot that he's sort of done with the boxing and that he's had enough and he just wants to focus on YouTube again. Is he still training, and how true are these statements coming from him?
Yeah. Look, he's still training, doing all of his cardio, doing his fitness. We've got him in high rocks competitions. He's still like having lots of fun and doing work. But punching and fighting is an acquired thing. It's when you want to do it, you'll do it. When you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. And I think that's the beauty. That's the best part of this sport, is that guys like him don't have to do it, and guys like us appreciate that you don't have to do it. We don't want you to do it if you don't want to do it. So at the moment, we're a family. We do what we do. We have fun. We get our work in. But at the same time, I think that thirst for punching and that thirst for boxing, it's something that you can't force. It's something that you want to do. And also, he's done it at a very high level. Like going in against an undefeated Fury as a YouTuber, not having any experience, the route that he went. It's not like someone like Jake Paul who's dedicated his life just to boxing. JJ's got he's a businessman. You know, he's got a life. Does a lot of extra things. So the fact that he did that to that level and better shows you the capabilities of him. But I think the reality of it is that right now, life's very good for him. You know, and if he wants to do it when something comes up, like, don't get me wrong, Jake Paul beating Joshua. Let's say that happened in some crazy world. Surely that's a fun fight. Then, right? Then you're motivated. Then you've got Andrew Tate beating Chase and becoming a heavyweight champ of his company. And, you know, that route there, there's fights there as well. There's loads of things that are available. But again, you've got to be ready and wanting to and willing to do these sort of things. And I think right now, it's a good time to chill and see what's going on.
Is KSI, in your mind, is Jake Paul the A side for KSI?
No, I mean, you've got to remember something. Boxing, generating an income makes you the A side, right? So it's what you bring to the table. JJ's just got a much bigger demographic. So we've turned down loads of opportunities because JJ has not been wanting to do them. There are huge opportunities like you're seeing with AJ, with Jake Paul. So the idea is who's the A side, who's the B side. Don't get me wrong. Jake is always going to be the A side because he's currently in boxing right now. But the second KSI decides to jump back in boxing, you've got a demographic of hundreds of millions of YouTubers, you know, of subscribers, of people that want to see him. In fact, the kid's now like a domestic name, on Britain's Got Talent and, you know, all this sort of stuff. The fact that his profile's gone up even more, I think generating pay-per-views and stuff, everyone's going to know what converts and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. If you look at Jake Paul's pay-per-view with Nate Diaz, or you look at, they're not good pay-per-views. You look at Jake with Tommy Fury, they're not good pay-per-views. You look at KSI with Tommy Fury, they're good pay-per-views. You've got to look from a business point of view. If you're talking numbers, there can't be any lying. They're factual numbers there. So I think there's always going to be a debate of who's the A side. But ultimately, right now, Jake is boxing, and he's going to be the A side. The second JJ decides to promote it and be involved in it, I think he's a monster. So, you know, that's the way it goes.
Okay. Just a couple more things for wrap this thing up. Shoot Fighters fighting in Misfits Boxing. You got the guy who won the KSI video a few months back. You also got Kia. You also got Idris. You also got a few fighters down here. Ashley Raksu. What's going on with the Shoot Fighters? When do we see these guys out? Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, we haven't had Idris since the Ty Mitchell fight. He was with one of the coaching team here. He just hasn't been in the gym, hasn't been training, so we can't say we're training him. Mm-hmm. Ashley haven't seen him since his last win. Oh, wow.
So we haven't been training him. You know, we've got at the moment, you know, with all due respect, like we've got a pro team that is like we've got like 46 fighters that are fighting all the time. So we're just out in Budapest now, we're at Munich this week. So the pro team's massive. With the influencer stuff at the moment, you've got guys up and coming. I've got this kid Kareem Kallas at the moment. He's like, you know, undefeated fighter, you know, on the influencer scene. He's going into Misfits next year as well. You've got Kia who won that tournament, the KSI tournament. He's there as well. There's loads of influence. I hate saying it. They're messaging us and IGing and hitting us up to do work with them, and we just won't do it just because there's got to be a level of discipline that we require. So when a fight team works with someone like us, because our brand is so dominant and so big in what we do, there's an element where we work for you, but you have to work for us. You've got to turn up. You've got to be on point. You've got to be doing you've got to be doing your training sessions. We've got to make sure that there's a partnership involved. Mm-hmm. We don't want to just get some clout and get beaten up. That's just not what we do. So we want to be involved in every aspect of your training so that we get the best out of you and you get the best out of us. And that's the relationship that we want. So, you know, I think moving forward, when it comes to influencers and, you know, people that want to fight, we're, you know, like I said, we're very, not picky, but just like we want the dedication that we give you, we want you to have. I don't think that's a hard thing to ask.
Careful is the right word. And Michael Venom Page, what's next for him in the UFC?
Yeah, Michael will be fighting next year. If all goes well, he'll be main eventing. We're looking for him to fight either Carlos Bretas, who just knocked out Leon Edwards, or Michael Morales, who's like 19-0, who just knocked out Sean Brady on the weekend in the UFC. They're both ranked number 1 and number 2 and 4, I think, in the world. So we're looking for that fight, main event, March in London.
Okay, nice.
And then, you know, you got a White House card coming up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it'd be nice to get Colby Covington, perhaps, on that. For Michael Page. Yeah, we've just got loads of guys. Just had Norbert Noveni Jr. He fought in Hungary. Main event in front of 20,000 people. Stopped this guy in round 1. I've got Felix Klinkhammer. He's fighting in Munich this weekend on Octagon. Like 40,000 people arena. He's on the main card. He's 10-0 world champion. There's loads and loads of guys fighting at the moment. I think we've got another 14 fights by the end of the year, which is a lot of work. So, and then we've got the Misfits card.
What do you think about Tom Aspinall? When do you reckon we'll see him return?
You know, that's a tricky one because, you know, the eye poke seems serious, I guess. You know, a lot of people said it wasn't. Regardless of whether they think it was or it wasn't, it was an illegal foul and he didn't want to continue. Enough said. Like, he couldn't continue. That's you have to go with the fighter on that because it was an illegal thing that happened. But whether it's as bad as people are saying, I have no idea. I think he's a super tough kid. I don't think he's a pussy at all. I think if it wasn't that bad, he'd tell you straight away. So, you know, I hope he gets better soon. I hope he gets back to training because he's a very, very good fighter. He's a complete fighter. Kid can fight standing, can fight on the ground. A lot of people say that that fight wasn't going his way. That's how fights are. You have to feel a guy out. You got to get timing. It's not just going to be dominant from the very, very beginning. Sometimes, you know. I think Tom's one of these guys. He's intellectually gifted and technically good enough to come into that fight and find his feet. So it was really unfortunate.
Certainly, I was very gutted. I'm a big Tom Aspinall fan, but yeah, it was always Alexis. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in Dubai.
Will do. Thank you.